Meeting of the Developmental Review Board at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is generally to review the minutes, but we don't have minutes from the hearing, our last meeting. So I'm going to proceed directly to my opening remarks. I've seen some of you before, but some of you may be new, so if you're wondering how the procedures work here, please pay attention. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Developmental Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity, and perhaps your only opportunity, to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event our decision is appealed to the Environmental Court, the court will not take or consider additional new testimony at its hearing, but will look at evidence from this hearing, our hearing, the regulations or law, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and decision of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board, so I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing. As we're on the record, we're going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. This means I'll be swearing you in. So if all the applicants and anyone who thinks there's any possibility they might wish to speak to any application could rise and raise your right hand, I'm going to swear you in. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? Okay. And if for some reason you weren't sworn and you change your mind and you wish to speak, just tell me you weren't sworn in. I'll swear you in. It's fine. But your testimony needs to be sworn to be part of the record. Otherwise, it's no good. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7. Obviously, tonight we have 4 members sitting on the board. And that means that you need to get 4 out of 4 in a certain sense. However, we have 3 additional members, Eric Annis, George, oh my gosh.
Reed Savory.
Thank you, Reed Savory.
And Todd Murchison.
And Todd Murchison, who have generously agreed, despite being on vacation or having health issues or other things keeping them out of this meeting, to review the video of the meeting and listen to the record listen to the evidence on the record, so that if there is not a decision where the 4 people sitting here are sufficient, and we already know that that's going to be the case in one application, when those members of the board are available to review the testimony, there will be a full vote of the 7 members. If anybody is not comfortable with that arrangement, if anybody wants if any of the applicants want all 7 members to be here, we'll generally entertain a motion to continue. Our next meeting is the 3rd Monday in September, which I think is the 20th, 21st. So that's our next meeting if anybody wants all 7 people present. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning office, town attorney, or any other town department will be considered in exactly the same way as the information from the applicants or any other interested parties. Mr. Zoning Administrator, could you please confirm that the meeting has been properly warned?
It has.
Thank you. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. So I happen to be the first applicant tonight, and obviously I can't sit on my own application. I'm using Mr. Bomig from Southern Vermont Engineering to assist me on that application. He's doing the wastewater plan, and he also is assisting the applicants in 2015-136. Since my relationship is with Mr. Bomig and not with the applicants, Cheshire Oil and 111 Realty Associates, I don't view this as a conflict of interest because I have no stake in the game. Additionally, I have a present business relationship with Jonathan Sicoscio, the architect who drew the plan for the Groundworks Collaborative application 2015-137. Likewise, I view that as an independent, separate matter, and I don't believe it creates a conflict of interest. But I want to disclose that for the sake of everybody knowing if anybody has any qualms with any of that. You had some? Okay. And we've had no disclosures of conflicts from any of the other members who are not here tonight, right?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Okay, so for the first application, Mr. Bushy, I have to appoint you chair and proceed to the table, I suppose.
So
That's okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
We don't usually do this.
Who are you explaining to?
I'm explaining to the crowd that the chair doesn't usually have an application before the board.
It's been a while since it's been that case.
I expect.
Isn't there a diesel over there?
Oh, yeah. You need it?
Probably be better than a chair.
Mr. Valente,
Hi.
tell us about your project.
So I run a law office that is right down there on the corner of Terrace and Putney Road, 51 Putney Road. And a challenge that we have is that we essentially have 2 parking spots which are barely enough to hold 2 cars. And the employees at my office and the clients generally park in spaces of questionable legality in the dirt here.
Jim, is that Terrace Street or is that Putney Road?
This is Terrace Street.
Okay,
This is Putney Road.
gotcha.
This is the front of our office, although you
Okay.
can't see it. And this would be Steve Squire's gas station, and the courthouse would be sort of out here.
Right, so no changes to the building at all whatsoever, the footprint or anything, just
No.
the parking areas?
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so presently, employees and clients, they can park in the driveway. They can park in these quasi spaces that are really just dirt spots across the.
Extra Steve Squires parking.
Yeah, I
So-
guess. I think technically it's actually on the land of the old Fleming Oil. But nobody's raised the issue, and it's been more than 15 years, and we all seem to get along. But it's still only got 2 spots that are really not there in the winter unless the snow's melted. The other option is 2-hour parking begins at a light post here, or a telephone pole here, and goes back all the way up Terrace Street until you get to the funeral home roughly. The problem with this 2-hour parking is that we use it almost all day. There's just a lot of clients that come, and there are 4 lawyers in a firm, so if everyone has a meeting every 2 hours, you're filling up your 2-hour parking. And as a result, Terrace Street, which is really not that wide, I would guess about 20 feet, maybe, we constrict that to a level with our traffic during most of the business day where there is really no ability for 2 vehicles to pass. That's a problem independently, but it's also a problem because the property next door to us is the Gathering Place, which is an adult daycare center for elderly or the disabled adults. And they make extensive use of a shuttle bus that is used to pick up and drop off their clients. And additionally, they probably use EMS services and fire services more than, I don't know, any other business that's not like an undergraduate college. So we're constricting a piece of Terrace Street by virtue of this being our only parking that is pretty important to a pretty vulnerable population. We sat down with the people at the gathering place because they've been having problems with cars going through their parking lot to the Elks, which is connected, and they felt that those were going too fast, and that has caused some problems with the area they use to drop off handicapped patients here, and their present handicapped parking, which I think is here. It's really not in a place that you would want handicapped parking, which is why they've staked off this drop-off area. But the drop-off area is also the most dangerous area if there are cars coming through going to the Elks.
That's been an issue for a while down there, hasn't it?
It's been an issue for a while. So we had an issue, they had an issue, and we put our heads together and agreed that they would transfer this piece of property. This was once the Fraternal Order of Eagles building, and it covered almost the entire parcel. The Eagles left and the building was torn down. We suspect that there's some foundation under there, though we don't really know. It's presently used for the cow plot bingo at Strong the Heifers, and there are a couple picnic tables out there that the gathering place uses sporadically, but really it's just a grass lot. We put our heads
Directly behind your building.
directly behind our building. Yes, this is to the east of our building and to the west of the gathering place. So the gathering place and our business agreed that this lot could be something that eased our parking problems and could be put to better use if it was paved. In order to accomplish that without increasing runoff, we hired Mr. Bomig, who put a bioretention area here. It seems that the land is almost perfectly flat at the moment, so it is not very difficult to put a very slight slope in that would cause the water to sheet into that bioretention area. This would relieve us by giving us 6 parking spaces here, really 2 more here, and it would allow the use of the tight area of Terrace Street to go way down. In addition, the gathering place would have 4 spaces here, including a place where it would allow them to be a little more flexible with their handicap parking. Because right now, just for their employees, they have to put someone on the grass here. They have someone who's sort of butting into this strange wall area. They just don't have enough parking for their own employees. So even though it's not a lot of spaces, it would give us a little bit of a relief valve on a problem that's come to a head for both organizations. The best way to screen it is to leave substantial lilac bushes that are already there, and we plan to do so. There are also some lilacs here that will have to be torn down to make the new curb cut. We plan to move those as much as we can to create screening on the southern boundary, the southwest boundary, I suppose. And we're also going to introduce some landscaping on the east side of the building, which is just kind of a blank facade with that the plywood with the vertical striping on it. So we think that we could beautify this exterior area a little bit while screening the parking so that it really doesn't have much effect on the people who are walking down the sidewalk. There's no lighting planned. We and the gathering place generally use it during the day. We do have a door that's just about in the center of the building here, and there's a little handicapped access ramp that I think we have a non-functioning light over that we may replace. It's just a downcast motion detecting light like anyone would have at their door. But that's the only lighting that's anywhere near the lot. The gathering place doesn't want any lighting. They don't use a lot of night at all. I've spoken to Mr. Timnack from the funeral home, and he's indicated he has no problem with it. I spoke to, I believe, the Grand Poobah of the Elks, and they indicated they don't have any problem with it. We don't have any input from the First Church of Christ. You'll see the letter in your packet from the gathering place indicating that they're agreeable to this scheme. And we think it'll allow our business to be a little more functional without imposing on our neighbors as much.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
So that's would you just run your finger, where's the property line between gathering place and you? Is it at the edge of the parking spaces?
Right now, the line is here. See, this area was a separate lot because it was the Eagles' lot. The gathering place acquired the lot, but the lot is, on the deed, it's lot 1 and this is lot 2, or this is lot 1 and this is lot 2. Although under Brattleboro ordinance, I was advised by the planning department, these are now merged for the purpose of this application, and we're asking for a condition B that we be allowed to do this if we can get a subdivision application approved. So we're gonna have to come back for that anyway. But the new property line would run approximately down the eastern boundary of the parking lot.
So would there be, in the section where it's gray, adjacent to gathering place spots there, are there existing gathering place spots to the right of your property line? Parking
To the right of
spots?
the new line or the old line?
The new line.
The new line, these are all existing.
Okay, and so is the pavement flush from those to yours?
No, we're gonna leave,
Is there any sort of boundary there that will prohibit cars from going back and forth from those spaces?
no, but I'm sure we could put some hedges.
Well,
I
was trying to get at what was your goal there. In other words, are you sharing spaces with gathering place under some sort of easement or arrangement, or just a verbal?
No, we have a written agreement that they'll get these 4 spaces. The reason that it's separate is because if they were routing traffic through here, it would cause them to lose probably as many spaces as they gained. And I believe that Ms. Fredette, who runs the gathering place, was thinking about putting some raised garden areas here for some of their clients.
Between them or in lieu of the?
Between them, to create some boundary and to give the clients, a gardening activity area. They do some gardening here already, though.
So the only entrance to your space is off Terrace Street? There's no other separate
The
entrance?
only
into the-
entrances would be via this curb cut right here off Terrace Street. There actually is a curb cut, but this would be larger and slightly off center from the curb cut. But there used to be a curb cut just about right here for the Eagles, I assume for their driveway.
Well, it said in the memos, fire department had no comments. Their comment was okay. Were there any from highway about that? About the curb cut there?
No. I mean, we have to do it.
Do you have anything else?
Did I miss anything?
Not really. The only thing, there will be some plantings in the bio-retention area too. So there'll be some additional color and so forth in there.
So bioretention, is that like a rain garden?
It is a rain garden. Bio-retention and rain garden are pretty similar.
Right.
And this actually, I guess technically is a rain garden because it doesn't have an outlet except for it drains down into the soil.
Right, so that's just, everything is retention, detention, delete, release, or whatever right there, right?
Yeah, there's no, it should all infiltrate into the soil there.
Gotcha. Is there street drainage?
Yes.
Stormwater drainage?
Yes.
There is drains out there, isn't there?
There's the drain is probably, I think this is it. You see this little rectangular, and I believe there's a manhole here, although I don't think that's drainage.
I thought there was one somewhere up around there by the place there too. Is that, well, where your curb cut is that landing where there is now 2-hour parking?
Yes,
So will one 2-hour parking space go away?
yes.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Gotcha. They don't need anything special for that, do they?
I don't know that procedure.
Make it a condition and we'll
Does it
figure it
just
out.
go away?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Right. Brian?
So if people from the gathering place want to use their 4 spaces, it's like their overflow parking or it'll
Oh, I
be
think
staff parking?
I think it'll be used regularly every business day. It will be full.
Okay, and they know that they'll have to come in.
Yes, that's right.
And they'll be marked, signed accordingly so that your folks don't go in there by
Yeah.
mistake or whatever, right?
Yeah, we haven't really thought this through that carefully, but my expectation is we probably have a couple of signs on the wall of our building saying Costello, Valente, and Gentry client parking only, and a couple of signs on, little posts that say gathering place parking only.
So
Sure.
if they park in those 4 spaces, how are they gonna get to the gathering place? Are they gonna,
They'll walk
Is there gonna be
This little rectangle, this is the entrance to the gathering place. So they'll walk across this little grass area and continue on the same path that people.
Okay, so there'll be some kind of path constructed?
Do you mean in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Well, in the summer it'll be easy, not in the winter though, so.
Yeah, and the person who's paving our lot is also the person who does our snow removal, and he understands the arrangement.
Right.
We're happy to have something specified if you wish, but he knows the deal.
So does he cart the snow away, or where
No, I
is it gonna go?
expect the snow would end up here and here. Last year, I think we had to have snow taken away for the first time, but usually, under ordinary circumstances, I expect we wouldn't need that.
And you're retaining the spots you have on the street that are off the street in front of your building, right?
You mean
Like in front of
Those
your
two.
garage?
Oh, these?
Yeah,
Yes.
those ones there, those are.
Yeah, this whole area is a garage door, and it's
And there's
one
two
of these
spots in front,
old-fashioned
right?
garages that's a two-car really right next to each other,
Right.
so the doors can't open garage, but, so yeah, so this is the same width.
Well, I drove down there the other day, in the middle of the day, and Terrace Street was parked up all the way to the funeral home.
Yeah.
And I had to pull over into the gathering place parking lot to let somebody go by who was going the other way.
It is
So
tight
it's,
there.
it's really tight.
The guardrail starts on the other side, not far past you, right?
Oh, yeah, the guardrail, I think it starts roughly, I think it'll start roughly across the street from where the new spaces are.
So will that leave 1 2-hour space
No, I
on the
think,
Putney Road side of your entrance?
I think you could probably fit 2 cars in here. Because,
And what about, is there room for another space, another car between your curb cut and and your current parking in front of the garage?
here,
Yeah,
well, the issue is we're really in our setback, and this is sidewalk.
yeah.
So you can sort of see another space of this width would have to be about 2
No, I
I didn't
meant
mean for
on-
you, she meant on the street,
On the
didn't she?
street.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh, you mean like this?
No,
No,
on the street,
on the
parallel,
street,
on the street.
Parallel,
Oh, in front of this?
Yeah, another
Um,
metered spot. Is there another metered spot there?
Well, there's a pole, there's a utility pole right about here. And that has the sign that says this is the front of 2-hour parking. And I assume they don't want anybody near that pole. But we've always had to leave this little area until you get to the pole blank or empty because of the way the town signs the parking. I expect if we were losing this, perhaps we could ask the town to reassign this as 2-hour parking. But I don't think we have any authority, and ultimately it's their streets.
So a couple of questions, Jim. The planning department says that the lot is too small to subdivide. In other words, when it became one with the gathering place, the rules of 2003 say it's a non-conforming lot, and that a lot line adjustment would be appropriate.
Right. That's the condition I was suggesting earlier when I suggested that the approval be conditioned on our getting a future subdivision. And that subdivision is really a lot line adjustment to move the boundary from here to here. And then it will become part of our lot,
Okay.
which goes all the way out to Putney Road. So this would essentially be one large lot, and I think that would conform to that ordinance.
Yes. And then the other concern is the setback.
Right. This space is within the 25-foot setback. We just don't have a lot of room there, and we're already eating some of the lot up for the bio retention area. Our request is to allow us, this is the offending space. This is the only one that goes into that setback. Our request is to allow us to have this extra one strictly on the basis of need and because we would be screening it completely, wall-to-wall lilacs. And our position is, if the spaces end here with a wall of lilacs, or if the spaces end here with the wall of lilacs, the effect on the people on the street, either driving or walking by, will be fairly minimal. But believe it or not, that one extra space is quite significant. We have 10 employees and countless clients, and even one extra space, especially in the wintertime, will be an enormous help to us.
I don't have any other questions.
Brian?
No, he answered my questions about the landscaping.
Anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Come on. James? Nothing further to add? Would we look for a motion to approve 2015-125? Did you read the draft?
So we'll condition it on the lot line
Right.
change.
Well,
Joe, at this point, just close the hearing and
right.
the board can,
Because he's got to come back, before he can do what he wants to do, he's got to come back and with a property line. Are we approving the plan?
just due to the lack of a quorum, you should just close the hearing, and after the other board members have had a chance to review the DVD, then you can have a deliberative session. And
Okay.
I'll still have to come back even if this is approved with an application for a new
Right.
subdivision for the lot line adjustment.
Is it possible he can do both of those at the same time?
it is, but if you, I think at this point, we heard it tonight, so he can dispose of
Okay.
this portion.
All right. All right. We'll close 2015-125.
Okay, the next application is 2015-136 Cheshire Oil and 111 Realty Associates or Association. Is it just you, Peter? If the applicants could come up to the desk, please. Good evening. Could you please tell us about your project?
Well, my name is James Robertson. I'm president of Cheshire Oil Company, and we and my family own the property that we wish to develop as a mini storage site. It's about 40,000 square feet. It's 5 buildings. We've owned the land for a long time and have tried to find people that might want to develop it on Putney Road, and we haven't had much of an inquiry, so we've decided we'd try and take the back portion of the property and build a mini storage. I'm in the mini storage business with Keene, have been for almost 30 years, and hopefully this is a good use of the property.
Is there a provision in there for electrical vehicle charger?
Not that I know of.
You indicated there would be a golf cart running around,
For service,
right?
The units.
Is that going to be electric?
I have no idea. It could be.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the vehicles will circulate on the site?
Would you like me to, let me walk through the
That's fine,
the whole
yeah.
thing if you'd like.
Go for it.
We're really asking for three items tonight. One is subdivision approval for lot line adjustment. We're asking for site plan approval for the mini storage that was just discussed, and also review of the Act 250. This will be going to Act 250 because it's over 10 acres of land. And so in regard to the subdivision, if I can start with that and go from there. Oops, sorry here. On your plans, this is very small here, but if you've got your plans in front of you, it's easy to understand. The upper portion here shows how the lots are broken out right now. And what they would like to do is this lot that fronts on Putney Road is subdivide that lot essentially in half and add it to the lots that are on Black Mtn Road to create about a 5-acre lot where the mini storage would be located on. And that would leave approximately 2.7 acre lot on Putney Road. So that's essentially the subdivision. Is pretty straightforward.
So nothing would be built on that?
Nothing would be built on Putney Road at this point.
Okay.
Okay. There will be, and I'll get to it when I talk about drainage, I'll talk about some easements, but outside of that, there will be. Now, as Jim said, there'll be 5 structures contemplated, or 6 actually, structures. One would be an office, about 864 square feet. It's right on Black Mtn Road. Immediately behind it would be a climate-controlled storage building, which is probably the first one in the area that I'm aware of, which so will be heated, air-conditioned, and sprinkled. And then the other 4 buildings of 9,000, 2 of them 9,000, 2 of them 4,500 square feet would be your typical mini storage type buildings. The drainage that I alluded to, then this is the site. What we didn't do with the drainage is collect all the impervious area on site. We treat it, we're going to treat it by basically overland flow and also a forebay before it gets to a larger basin, and then it'll infiltrate into the ground, similar to what it does right now at the site. Some of the areas for the basins will be on other land that Cheshire Oil owns, and so an easement will be required into those properties, and that's in this area and in this area over here. The idea is to have zero runoff from the property.
And this will do so?
Yes. Now, we do need to get a stormwater discharge permit from the state, so that'll all be reviewed at the state level.
Right.
And we've got a little more testing to do before we can send that application in, so we cross all our T's, dot all our I's with the state, but we will need that.
Is there any public drainage infrastructure in that area?
Well, there's some on Putney Road, but it's really, doesn't have capacity for any additional stormwater, and that's the way it is for everybody on Putney Road. They can't really look into the state system.
Yeah.
There will be a water and sewer connection to the office, and there will also be a sprinkler connection to the climate control building, which will come off Black Mtn Road. In addition, on our property, there's actually a couple, there's a water line that serves the Cobb house and a sewer line from the Cobb house, which we know where the water line is because Public Works has information on that. We're not 100% sure where the sewer line is, but except we know the sewer's got to go downhill, so we assume it's crossing in the 20-foot right-of-way that the Cobbs have.
Is that from the old bowling alley?
No, the old bowling alley's down here.
Okay.
There's a residence right there.
Right. Oh, that's the sewer line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Another issue is traffic. Now, what we looked at, we didn't have any good information about traffic, so we went to what we usually do when we don't have good information. We went to the Institute of Traffic Engineers and used their material. Now, and you've heard this from me before, when we talk about commercial stuff, Institute of Traffic Engineers, it tends to be very conservative for Brattleboro, because most of the studies are done in urban areas, as you can imagine. It's very good for residential, but it's a little conservative. But anyways, based upon IPE, we come up with 99 vehicles per day, and the peak hour at the property of 12 vehicles per hour. And the peak traffic, when the peak is on The adjacent street is 11 vehicles per hour. Now, that means vehicles going in and coming out count as one. So, basically what that equates to, just so you get a feel for it, to see if it seems reasonable to you, is that for each unit that's there, somebody goes in there every 6 days, and they average that unit. I don't know what your experience is, but my experience is that might be, our numbers might be a little conservative.
Right.
Okay?
And when you say conservative, you sort of mean liberal,
Yeah.
in the sense, a lot of
yeah,
cars
a lot of
compared to
cars.
what it would actually be. You think it would be less?
I think it would be less. But anyways, but we wanted to compare that, because I think that's the important part of the questions here, how that compares to traffic at Putney Road and Black Mountain Road intersection.
Mhm.
So, the peak hours at Black Mountain Road. Well, let's talk about the day to start with. The day is about 17,700 vehicles. So if you take 99 vehicles and you assume they all go through that intersection, that's about 0.5% increase in Black Mountain Road traffic and Putney Road traffic at that intersection. Same with the hourly, 11 vehicles versus 1898, it's about 0.6%. Basically nothing. And I should also point out, which you've heard this before from me too, traffic on Putney Road has been going down since 1989. It's about 10% lower than it was in '89 on Putney Road, and since 2005, it's about 7% lower. So, in fact, if you look at what the traffic was before, and you look at this project, you can see what this project really hasn't done much effect on the intersection of the traffic at all. Landscaping, Jim wanted us to do a really good job of landscaping at the entrance to the property in particular. And I think if you've seen this property as a team, you understand that you guys do things in a pretty good way.
And when you're going through the landscaping, could you describe the relationship of the individual lots here to the pieces of landscaping you're talking about as you go?
Sure, I'll try.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I'll talk about Black Mountain Road, which is this area right here, okay, and where it's to the front. And you've got the office building here and the other buildings behind it. There's 2 large maple trees in this area that we'll be keeping. There's a couple other larger trees here that I understand are not in good shape, so they're going to be taken out. But in addition to that, there's a great deal of landscaping, both shrubs and larger trees, as you can see at your landscaping plan here. So it really looks nice in this area. The other concerns, of course, were there's a residence here, and we would need to protect the residents. And so there's well, let's see, there's balsam fir, eastwood, cedar, white spruce, and rhododendron in this area here to
That would be
buffer
new.
that house from.
That's new.
from
Proposed new.
That's
Those are proposed new plans.
Right.
Now, those are on that lot.
They are.
The Cobb lot, is it?
They're not on the Cobb lot, they're on Cheshire Oil's lot.
Oh, they're on the Cheshire Oil lot. Okay.
It borders the Cobb.
That's correct. It
Okay.
is.
And they would run along that borderline.
Right.
Okay.
And you can see that's quite extensive too. And then here to break up,
And all the other landscaping you spoke of was also on the Cheshire Oil lot?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Along Putney Road, again, there's a mixture of hardwoods and softwood trees and shrubs. This is up on a higher plateau from Putney Road, so the vegetation is planted on this hillside. As you can imagine, the buildings are very low, and so landscaping actually can be fairly effective along that area. And again, it's fairly heavily landscaped. On the west side, you go up the plateau, cemetery, there is vegetation there already, and there really isn't much we could do if we wanted to.
Is that a hedgerow?
No, it's a hedgerow.
something like that, it's some kind of evergreen.
It's just a lot of trees and a lot of
Oh, is it?
undergrowth, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't do anything there. And over here is Jim's present facility, gas station, so it was very light landscaping.
Okay. Is there, yeah.
Well, in the upper, I can't see it too well from here, but in the upper corner there, isn't there another little house in the upper
There
corner
is.
there? Something up there too?
Yes, there is. I think it's abandoned, I'm not sure.
I don't think it's abandoned. I think it's owned. I looked at it on the tax rolls and there's somebody's name attached to it.
Yeah, there is.
It wasn't the
sure.
town of Brattleboro.
No. But it doesn't seem to have, I don't know, I mean,
Right.
you're right, what you said.
Well, you were concerned about screening one. I'm just curious, if there was to be a use there, would you screen to that side too, towards
We
that
did
house?
We did put some screening in here, and I didn't look at that in great detail. I don't know if you want to talk about that screening at all up in that area?
I wasn't trying to be critical, but I can't see that. I can see it on these small ones here. It looks like there's screening around the Cobb house and screening around your building up there, but I didn't see anything at the edge. Is there a road, it looked like a roadway that went? Is that where the roadway wraps around and goes behind?
The roadway goes around buildings like this, for circulation and so forth. And there's quite a bit of landscaping in this whole area. These are shrubbery, of course, this house is again higher than the
Right.
project itself.
Gotcha.
So
The house is.
the house is, you know.
Right, but those buildings and that office are kind of all on that next plateau up from
For Putney Road.
Putney Road and that
Yes,
stuff, right?
that's
Yeah,
right.
okay, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
So the landscaping is on a number of different lots, but they're all owned by Cheshire Oil. Do I correctly understand that?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you have in mind some mechanism to ensure that somebody doesn't, in the future, purchase one of those lots and do away with the screening?
Well, if you make it a conditional permit, I'm sure with the 250, they will anyways.
Right. My only thought was to have some kind of covenant in common throughout the deeds of those lots while you own them all.
Well,
requiring-
right now, except for these trees right here, they are on this property, but we certainly could add them to the easement, the drainage easement on that area.
Okay.
Okay?
And you view that as something you can do without much trouble?
Yeah, I think so, Jim. We can do it.
But there are no other landowners here who are going to have any screening on the property. It's all under your present control.
That's right.
And you're content to use a permanent easement to require not only its upkeep, not only it remaining, but its upkeep.
Yes, I need, but yes, I think that's fair.
Where is the entrance to your new facility in relationship to the exit from the new drive-in teller? Didn't we approve an exit on the
Yeah,
Black
you-
Mountain Road?
You can see
Oh,
it.
they're way up further.
But, I don't know which entrance.
I know what she's talking about. You can see it. It's right between, it's right in the middle of the word mountain on the left side of mountain. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
that's it right here.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so our entrance is up here.
It's the north entrance from the lot of that property. Can you, are you waiting for us to finish asking about landscaping to get to circulation?
Yeah, I can talk about circulation, I was gonna talk about lighting too.
Oh,
And then you know, with it.
does anybody have anything else on landscaping? Let's go to circulation and lighting.
Okay, so the circulation again, this is Black Mountain Road, so vehicles would enter here. There will be a gate here. I assume there's some type of either, I don't know. what
It's controlled.
Yeah, some type of control in the gate. So they'll enter through there, go to their particular facility. They can drive down this way, come out this way, or whatever, cut between the buildings in that area. But there's plenty of circulation here. As it actually was designed so we can get not a large tractor trailer in there, but a shorter ones. So
Like
there's
the
plenty of room in
ABF
there.
trucking type of,
Pardon?
like the ABF trucking type of
Yeah.
scenario where they're doing home moves or whatever.
So the fire department, for example, would not have a problem getting in there.
Is there a planned fence, or is it simply vegetation between the Cobb property and the storage facility?
There is a fence all around this facility.
Okay. What, can you talk about the fence a little bit, what it's gonna look like? Are we getting ahead of ourselves here?
I'm not sure I know all the details of the fence.
What do you think?
8-foot chain link fence?
I have some that's black iron, I have some that's chain link, depends on what it's facing. When I'm facing the road in Keene, it's black iron fence. When it's up against the back part of the property, it's chain.
Do you have in mind what your plan is to do specifically near the Cobb property?
I would say to the cemetery side, it would probably be chain link.
Sure.
To the Putney Road side,
That's the west side.
which, that's the west, the east side, towards Putney Road, I would think it'd look nicer with black iron.
Okay, and that's also the Cobb side.
Yes, it is.
Right. What about on that little runaround on the north side?
This area here.
No, that's the
No,
south.
south.
I meant
Oh, over here.
the north end.
This is up against your facility, or sort of up against your facility, the old Pergert property.
Oh,
The short line, if you will.
that'd probably be chain link because it goes up against it.
Can you see it from the road?
No,
And what about on the Black Mountain Road side, the south border of the property?
Yeah, you said black, right?
all right.
Okay. So south and east would be the black iron fencing, and north and west would be chain link 8-foot.
Probably.
Razor wire or anything like that? Razor wire or anything like that?
I prefer not to.
No, I just want to know. Did you have a
So will
question?
people park in front of their units? Is that the plan? Or there isn't any other parking?
No, well, the only other parking is there's a few parking spaces right in front of the office for somebody that's coming in to, I don't know, to get a.
Sign up or what, sign up
maybe
or
pay the
whatever.
bill, whatever.
Right.
But otherwise, they would just park in front of you, just like they do any other storage.
Is there any
So-
plans for U-Haul type business there?
No. I prefer not to do U-Haul.
Do you do any sort of retail, moving stuff, boxes, any of that sort of stuff, besides just renting the storage?
I don't presently, I tried it.
Right.
Most people bring all their stuff in boxes already,
Gotcha.
so.
Right.
Do you want to talk about lighting?
Okay.
Is that premature? Did you guys have any questions to ask you? Let's talk about lighting.
As far as the lighting goes, we in fact, I think, did we give them the new plan, Monroe?
He said that to be done administratively.
Okay, but let me tell you what it is anyways. The plan we submitted to you, we didn't have the photometrics because we had a problem with the computer software at the time we submitted. But we have them now, and we gave them.
You're using LEDs,
We're using LEDs, all downcast, so you can't see the light fixture,
full cutoff.
full cut off.
What are you doing to avoid lighting up the Cobb property?
Again, it's all, if you look at the photometrics, you'll see that in that area, it's lights basically just the area of parking and so forth, and driving. I don't think there'll be much wash onto the Cobb property whatsoever.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the types of building materials you use, if you know?
It's all metal.
Corrugated?
It's a type of corrugated, I don't know what you,
Right, but I mean, sort of what you'd expect from a standard steel structure,
of course, most of it's doors.
right? Are you going to paint it?
I think we have some colors, but you couldn't reproduce them, right?
Right, I had the website that shows the colors, but when you print it, the colors don't show up. The architect has picked a forest green for the roof, and it's a brownish siding, I think sandstone. On the office building, there's a stone base around the entire office building itself.
Are you saying that's the color or actual stones?
No, it's actual, imagine it's an imitation stone. A
Precast?
face stone, yeah, it just gives it an architectural appearance.
Okay,
Veneer
so,
stone.
Right.
Veneer stone, right?
okay. What about the roofing?
That'll be a metal roof
Metal.
too.
Colored?
Yeah.
Green.
Forest green?
Forest
Okay.
green roof.
Back to the lighting just for a moment. Is there hours of access? Is the lights on? Is there time for the lights to be on and not on?
Well, we keep some lights on all night, but we close at 9 o'clock. We don't open till, in Keene, we open at 6.
Is security lighting, you mean? Are you able to, is it localized, or do you just keep on enough to dimly light the whole property? Do you not know how
Well,
you're
there's
doing
lights
it?
in every building. I can't tell you how bright they are, but
Well, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, what proportion of the lights do you tend to remain on all night? What
in
we're trying-
Keene, they all stay on.
Okay.
But I built it 30 years ago. The rules have changed.
So around the Cobb property, for example, I mean, what lights will be there near their property? And they'll be on all the time, 24 hours, or during the nighttime?
Nighttime.
Do you think you need to have those lights on all the time?
I'm willing to be cooperative as a neighbor.
Well, you have experience in this
I can't-
business.
Yeah, I'm in an industrial zone. Keene.
Right.
I'm in where Cheshire Oil Company is, so I have traffic all night long. I don't have any residential neighbors,
Sure.
so it's a little different than this situation.
Let me ask you a different way. Is security a problem in this business?
It hasn't been for me.
It hasn't been. Do you think that the storage facility would be unsafe if the lights went out at 9?
I couldn't tell you.
You said there's gonna be limited access, right? Is there a gate or something that you close?
Gates are all coded operated. You can't get in if you don't have a code. If you haven't paid your bill, the gate won't open and so forth.
Is it possible to use light fixtures that would become motion activated after a certain time?
I would assume so.
Probably could do that in that area for sure. I think we could probably work something out there.
It is possible. What we're using can be motion activated.
And on a timer as well?
Yes.
That's just my biggest concern right around this residential property here, to have, light or glare off onto there. So at night.
I mean, if we keep some of these other lights on over here, in the back here, I think that area we could probably keep dark, I would think, after 9 o'clock or whatever.
Because I assume there'll be lights on the buildings themselves as well as some lights around the
That's
drive
correct.
portion of the...
Right. Yeah, again, that's shown on the plans that we submitted to them.
You're going to follow the Vermont Commercial Building Energy Standards?
We have to.
Is there any alternate traffic plan for any time in the future, or is the only way the traffic is going to get out on the Black Mtn Rd entrance as you have it?
As far as I know, that's the only way. Could I speak to that traffic?
Yes, of course.
When I read the paper, somebody wrote me up in the paper. I was impressed. But we did a traffic count on my units. I have 375 units in Keene, and a big Sunday we'll have 30 cars. We won't have 30 cars during the week.
How much difference do you see from weekend to weekday?
I'd say it's maybe 10 to 15% more.
On the weekends?
People have to work on the week, so we don't get a lot of, but there's no way we get 99 cars a day.
Will you have closed circuit TV there also?
I do.
Yeah. So you can see if someone gets in there or something after hours or whatever, right?
Snow, what are you gonna do with snow?
Well, we have quite a bit of room to do between the buildings here, up in this area, and in fact, all around in this area too. So,
Where? I'm sorry, you...
okay, well, the end of the parking, or the end of the travel lanes here, there's all this open area here. So between the landscaping and all that type of stuff. It's quite a bit of room there.
So it's not gonna be pushed into any of the detention basins or anything like that, or?
Well, let me put it won't be in the basins because they're too far away. The swales, just like they would on a road, when you plow, you're gonna end up plowing some of the swales, but that's kind of where you want to go anyways. When it melts, it's gonna go that way.
The parking standard suggests 6 spaces for this many units. Can you just tell us why that's not necessary?
Well, I mean, we could just, if we needed to, we could show you 6 spaces on this.
I understand. I just want to know why you don't need 6 spaces.
But Jim doesn't think he needs it, basically.
Is it based on your experience in the Keene facility and your observation?
People park where the unit is, they don't park somewhere else, they park in front of the units.
So those spaces are really just used for the office? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, and a customer.
At least in the Keene facility?
Yeah.
Okay. But it makes no sense to park in those spaces because generally they'd be as far from your unit as any place you'd be.
Right.
Okay. Can you talk about signage on the site to direct people around to different places? Is that planned yet?
I don't know that we've really talked in detail about that. Assuming units are numbered, and that's,
They're all numbered and, yeah.
Each building will have its own number. Do you plan to, you just have to say yes because we're recording.
Why, what?
You have to say yes instead of nodding because we're
Oh,
recording,
yes.
that's our record. What about arrows to direct people around? Are there one-way areas or is everything a two-way where people can sort of move around as they please?
it's wide enough to be two-way.
Okay,
Now, when somebody's parked there, it could be just like on Terrace Street where,
right.
you know, except the traffic will be less here probably than on Terrace Street.
But you're not planning to impose some kind of pattern or circulation scheme? There's not going to be any arrows down there?
No, I haven't had them in my present place.
The idea is that it be wide enough, there's going to be enough pavement there for 2 cars to fit, and that way people can just figure
That's
it out.
correct.
And you'll give emergency services some way through the gate after hours?
Yes.
You have an arrangement with Keene, I presume, already?
Yes, I can.
Peter, this is all paved, right?
That's right.
On the drawing there, there's a reference to pea gravel on the east side there, that line along PM Cobbs there. What is that for? Is that just like drainage or swale at the edge or something?
Where's that reference to?
On C1, grading and drainage plan, reference to pea gravel, it says it looks like, oh, is that a swale? A foot
Well,
wide,
one-
2 foot deep? Is that
At
just
one
a
point, we were thinking about a pea stone edging around the pavement,
Gotcha.
and that got wiped out, so that's something that
Gotcha.
didn't get erased.
Other questions from the board?
No.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak about this application? If you do, I'm just going to recognize the fellow in the back because your hand was up first. I'd like you to walk up to that microphone. This is so you're on the record and so the people watching on television can hear you. Say your name, where you're from, and if you walked in late, if I didn't swear you in, you need to be sworn in. I swore you in.
Name is Liam Cobb. I own the house in the other lot, it's behind it, the north side. And the sewer line on the, can I come?
Yeah.
The sewer line to the lot comes down through.
If you could just, none of us can see. No, that's all right.
Okay. The sewer line comes down on this lot that was Liam Cobb's, my uncle's.
Uh-huh.
It comes down the driveway that was there, and then there was a red building there, a garage, and it went right through the middle of that. It continues into the field of my Aunt Evelyn's, which now they own. And directly after it comes down the field, it comes straight into the back of the house, just to the north of the water line.
Okay, so it's underneath what they'll be developing on their property.
Right, because back when they took the houses down, they sent a crew up there to cut the sewer lines off. And I was there that day, and I asked them, they said they were gonna cut the sewer lines, and I'm like, you can't cut the sewer line there because it comes to my property. And they said that my sewer line came down the road, the right way of the road, which it doesn't.
Okay.
And so they left that alone.
Do you mind if I ask you how you know they're wrong about that?
Because I was a little kid when it was put in.
Oh, okay, so you actually remember seeing the sewer line put into the north of the house?
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay.
I lived there all my life.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious how you knew that with such accuracy.
So-
That could be correct, because we don't know where the sewer line is, I mentioned
Okay.
earlier. But if it's near the water line, that's not a problem for us, basically, because that's the area that we kind of worked around, basically.
The water line cuts across.
Right.
You've got the water line practically right where the water line is.
Yeah.
It's marked right there. But what I'm saying is the sewer line is on the property. It comes right down the middle of the driveway. It fed both houses. Willard's house that was next to us on the front side here. Leon's house, which was on the back. Continued down there, right through the field. And it comes on this end of the house, the north side of the house is right there.
Okay. And you're worried that this would disturb that sewer line?
I just don't want it disturbed.
Right.
I just want them to be aware of where it is.
Okay.
Because that's been a thing that nobody knows where it is. They said the town said it was, the fellows with the equipment said the town said it was down here, it wouldn't get bothered.
Right, but they didn't see it put in.
Right, and then last summer, we heard water running on the water pipe, and I went to the town and asked them to check my house. And what it was water was running for a long time here on Liam Cobb's property. It was saturated with water, and it broke when, I guess bulldozing and stuff hit the pipe that was cut, and the house went down. And so that, they had to come in and dig that up and cap it.
So, Mr. Bomek, if what he's saying is right, and let's assume for the purposes of this that it is, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think we'll need to get together with him, and he can point out to us where it is, and we'll work around it.
But you'd be capable of paving over that with no damage to the sewer line?
Well, in fact, that area, what we're talking about doing there is in fact leaving it green, because we're going to be putting our stormwater system in that area. So it shouldn't, so we'll work around it, is what I'm saying. When we know where the exact location is, the design will have to reflect that.
Okay.
You should be able to just stick a camera down it and map it as you go, can't you? Where the
Well,
line is?
The problem is nobody knew where to start either. I mean, we talked to the town, of course.
Right.
And they, obviously, as you said, they knew where the water line was, but they,
Well, they said at first the water and the sewer both were in the driveway to the house out there, my house.
Well-
That the water and sewer up here just went to the two front houses that were taken down.
I mean, I'm quite sure that we all agree that a condition of this should be that that water line and the sewer line not be disturbed.
Right.
But that would be satisfactory to you?
Right. Sure. And then the thing is, on water, I got concerns about that because there's always been a water problem in that area,
Runoff, you mean?
runoff. And so,
Do I correctly understand, Mr. Bowman, that the plan is to have the runoff head west?
well, essentially east, okay? You've got the buildings, let's call the buildings on the west side of the property. The east side of the property, on the same plateau, is somewhat downhill, or the gradient is from west to east.
Mhm.
And so that's where the stormwater would go.
And how do you assure that it doesn't impact the Cobb property?
It essentially, it's going to be infiltrating into the ground just like it does now.
But I mean, what are you going to be using for materials, say, and what's going to decrease the impact that apparently currently exists?
I don't know what the impact is at this point, but the way we design it, there'll be essentially dry wells in the bottom that in frozen conditions, for example, the water can seep through, otherwise it'll just seep through the soil.
Where's the present problem, Mr. Cobb?
well, the problem is the water comes down Black Mountain Road when it pours. Water comes down Black Mountain Road, and there's a basin right here, the driveway, right here about where my finger is. There's a basin there, and the water It got so, last year it didn't even hit the basin. So I went to the town road department and asked them if they could do something by the basin. They put blacktop around it to catch it, because it was coming down my driveway and, you know, turning it into a pond.
Okay,
And
that we've got under control. What we're doing there is, if you notice on the plans, we've got swales along Black Mountain Road and new culverts going in there, including under Mr. Cobb's driveway. So there will be no water coming off Black Mountain Road onto his property, because his driveway's on the east side of his property, or so that culvert will actually discharge onto Cheshire Oil's property. So that problem that he's got right now, in fact, we're going to be taking care of.
Can I ask you can I interrupt for a second? Can I ask you to back up for 1 second to that water and sewer line of his, that now by his declaration goes under the corner, sounds like goes under the corner of your separate lot, is that correct? The little square lot that the retention detention is gonna be on?
Yeah.
Is that where he's saying, in other words, your lines went in what was previously between Armin Nato's property and the next one up the hill there, Dory Faulkner or something owned it at one point in time there? You're talking about that's where those water lines go in there, that we're going to those houses, continue on to yours?
no, the water line came
Is
across
John-
Nato's,
Yeah,
the
okay.
corner of it.
Yeah.
But you can see right there, the water line comes across the edge of that property. The sewer line comes straight, right through where the driveway was,
Yeah.
to Dory Faulkner's.
Yeah,
Then there was a red building,
Yeah, I remember that.
garage. It went right through the middle of that. They took a backhoe and they dug underneath. They came right through the middle of there, and they went straight down, because there's a fence here for the
Gotcha.
pasture of Evelyn Cobbs.
I guess what my question is, do you have an easement to that, or does it just exist?
It
My-
just exists.
my question is,
because,
with-
they were all brothers.
In light of this project, does there need to be some straightening out of the easement? Because he either has or may have, again, his property up for sale. So will that ultimately cause a snafu, what he's discussing? And is that something you guys need to work out? I don't mean tied to this project, but is that an issue that you need to resolve?
This is we'll certainly try to resolve it.
Right.
As far as he having a right to those, he's had it over 15 years. So he has a right to continue to use that sewer and water line, okay? It's not a written easement. We have to talk to a legal person about all the
Gotcha.
ramifications of that, but he does have a right to continue to use those.
Right.
I think that we can easily accommodate it based upon what Mr. Cobb is describing here right now, because in fact, that's an area where we already kept it high because of the water line and so forth. So I don't think it's going to have a major effect on what we show here or what we can do there.
Right.
But I would like to get together with Mr. Cobb.
Seems
At
like
the
that might
site,
prove.
he can probably show us better where you pointed out.
Well, so he can protect in perpetuity his access to that water and sewer,
Yeah.
right? Somehow. Sure.
Okay.
I kind of lost the part here going now back. When you said, Ms. Bowman, on the culvert, you're gonna put a culvert across where my driveway is?
That's correct.
And that culvert is gonna, where's the end of it gonna?
It's going to discharge, it'll discharge onto what was used to be the Vershinsky property, which is owned by Cheshire Oil.
That water will eventually work its way right back to mine.
So, no, it'll be
Because I'm the
down,
lower part.
it'll be down gradient of your property.
Can you just point us to the discharge site so we can see what you're talking about?
Lower here.
So what we've got here, this is his right of way right there. You can see it.
Yeah.
And what we've got is we've got a culvert coming across that right of way, driveway.
This is what's gonna be, or
This is what's going to be, not
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then discharging down into this area, we've got a swale, you can see his property line is here, and we've got a swale here to take the property.
Can you put your pen where it would discharge?
It'll discharge, it'll drain this way, discharge over into here.
Okay, so this is a fairly long culvert.
No, the culvert ends right here.
Oh, but you'll use a swale to control the discharge, and so the
Right.
discharge will extend to the north side of where the homestead is.
Right.
Oh, I see.
In the wintertime, the town's had problem with the water culvert here, not the culvert, but the basin here. It's just up from the intersection.
Mhm.
And then water backs into this area and cars splash through it.
Right.
And then back here, this one here, and in the winter, they both freeze. Last winter, I was out there with an iron, shoving it down through the grates on this one to get the water to go in there.
Mhm.
But in matter of that, I think they're pretty much full of sand.
Don't you think a culvert would be better than what's there? I mean, tell me if I'm
I
wrong.
can't picture a culvert working, other than, I guess, if you're gonna swale it down. I mean, where's all this water gonna go? If this is a basin here, is this gonna be a catch basin that's right here on the,
There will
right
be.
there where it's white?
Yes, yep.
And then when that basin gets full, because there's gonna be no outlet,
If it gets full, what would happen is it would actually end up discharging back to the same area we're talking about because of the way it's graded.
okay, so that's why you've got the culvert going across my driveway.
Well, we've got that because we've
Right
also
there.
got the concern about Black Mtn Road because,
Because of the problems there.
right.
Right.
But we didn't, I don't know anything about, I didn't know that you had a problem either.
Yeah, it's been, ever since I was a kid, been saying, because we had the bowling alley that the water dumped off because the bowling alley was right, probably a couple feet from the line. And the water off the roof of that, half of it that came over that side, all dumped down that driveway, and then it come down Black Mountain Road. And then when it was really bad in the wintertime, this area up here in Woodcock's Field all turned to ice, and a big pool of water stood up there. And then that water, when it got full, it come over the top of that knoll behind my house and down into my house and flooded back and around my house and in the cellar. And so, I got great concerns with that. But, I got people renting a house and, the lights and stuff, but I'm just concerned about that for their sake.
Well, I think we are too. I think we want all those lights in proximity to the house to be motion sensitive after 9 p.m. when there shouldn't be anybody there anyway. And the bear might put them on, I suppose, but
The what?
a bear, I guess. A bear or something. Well. All right, I just want to hear from a couple other members of the public,
Okay.
Mr. Cobb, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can come back up if you have more. I saw another hand in some guy in the green t-shirt. I know that guy in the green t-shirt. Could you just
James.
identify yourself, Mr. Kaler?
Yeah, Moss Kaler, I live at 7 Jusso Lane, which is up Kipling Road, right on the Brattleboro Dummerston border. And my interest in being here tonight is a traffic issue. And I understand that this business won't produce a lot of traffic, but the traffic light of Black Mtn Rd and Putney Road is dysfunctional at this present time and has been for years. And it's my opinion that adding any traffic, additional traffic, into that intersection is going to create an even greater problem that currently exists. It may possibly just be solved by a timing issue. It's a very, very long way. I don't have empirical evidence, but from my own experience, I would guess that it's maybe the longest red light in all of Brattleboro. And I'm not joking, I'm serious. And
The
when it does
dysfunction you're
turn
talking
green,
about is up Black Mountain Road.
yeah, if you're on Black Mtn Road wanting to turn on to Putney Road, either right or left. And when it does turn green, if drivers who are maybe aware of the short green light and really hit the gas and go through essentially tailgating each other through the intersection, you might get 5 cars through there, but more typically, it's probably about 3 cars that can get through that intersection. And then, of course, if you're the 4th car in line, you've got another, minute and a half wait or something like that until it turns green again. I don't know if the town and the Developmental Review Board or Act 250 or whatever can have this project trigger a reconfiguration of that intersection, but there's a lot of traffic from SIT that comes down there.
We can't do that.
Right. At any rate, it would be nice to see improvements to that intersection and maybe even a dedicated right turn lane.
Is, you go through there a couple times a day or so?
I would guess between my wife and I, we probably go through there 4 or 5 times a day, so our experience is probably over 1,000 times a year.
Does it change the level of traffic, whether it's weekends or weekdays or rush hour, middle of the day? Can you give us a little better idea of the flow of the traffic there?
Yes.
At any time, there can be cars stacked up at any time, but certainly when SIT is ending its day is probably when it gets its heaviest load coming down.
Is that
Black
3
Mtn
or
Rd.
4 p.m.?
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that
Okay.
stretch. Yeah, absolutely. On the weekends, it's probably, once again, at any one time, you could get a backup of cars. But, you know, if you wanted to, statistically, the weekends are going to be lighter than the weekdays.
I see. What about the mornings? I guess it's all
More
coming
is
in?
coming up the road, yeah.
Okay. With your experience in the Keene facility, does traffic concentrate at a particular time during the day?
I'm on 101, which
Oh.
goes from Keene to Peterborough, and there's traffic forever, never mind.
I just mean
When
for
I was on.
the storage facility. In and out of the storage facility, that you're contributing to 101 there.
During the week, maybe one or two in an hour.
But does it change between 8 and 10 a.m. or 3, 5 p.m., for instance, or is it relatively
No.
even throughout the day?
The storage business is not a traffic builder. I have units that haven't been opened in 20 years. And they pay the bill every month. I don't know why they haven't.
I have one question that I think was answered earlier, but wasn't clear to me. Can the customers who are renting spaces access it 24 hours a day, or at 9 o'clock at night?
9 to
the gate stays
6
locked?
to 9, right?
Stays locked.
Okay, this wasn't clear.
Okay. And you find that reasonable?
Well, I think the cops would find it reasonable.
Whatever, it's not something you want to
Yeah, it's not
talk
going
to us
to
about.
impact me if someone goes in at 2 in the morning. No,
Okay.
it doesn't bother me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there other members of the public who wish to speak on this application? Yes. Could you come up and identify yourself?
Hi, James, Robin Stern, and my husband and I live up Black Mountain Road, so we've also always experienced. I'm sorry, you can't hear me? We can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry. My erstwhile neighbor wants to make sure that I tell the truth while I'm standing here.
Did I swear you
And
in?
apparently I wasn't sworn in, so I swear under penalties of perjury that I will speak the truth.
That's fine. I'll take your word for it.
So we also have the concerns about the traffic because we experience Black Mountain Road. I just wanted to ask Peter, and I haven't studied your application, but when you were, I was taken a little bit aback by the traffic going down, because it certainly seems that traffic has increased, and we observed on a regular basis the backup to the rotary. I don't disagree that this is not a high traffic business. But I just wanted to get an idea of where your documentation came from. So when you're talking about the traffic counts.
I got it from the Agency of Transportation. You go online yourself and go to traffic research. And it may take a little figuring out how to get there, but all that statistics is there. Okay, and in fact, I got traffic turning movements this morning, faxed or emailed to me, that we've done in July there at that intersection.
Is this on the Black Mountain Road portion or the Putney
Right,
Road
that was
portion?
my question.
Both. The intersection counts were done in July 16th of this year. And that, as I said, that was emailed to me this morning.
So this is when they put the black strip down?
No, this is you'll see people sitting out there counting, the cars and so forth.
Which way they turn, where they come from, right?
That's right, exactly. The other thing that they have is continuous counters. On Putney Road, we have a continuous counter that counts every hour or every second of every day.
And that's the black strip you see?
No, it's not a black strip out there. You don't even see it. It's in front of where the old garage was, that used to be where the Agency of Transportation garage was, is where the place in Cheshire Oil.
Where Aaron's is, for Stop and Go?
Yeah, Stop and Go.
On Putney Road.
On Putney Road. So that gives you an idea of what the counts are there and what's been going on
So
historically.
you have more or less constant count on Putney Road, and you had a July measurement on the Black Mountain Road portion, and that July measurement is where you got that 99 number?
No, the 99 number, the trip generation comes from the Institute of Traffic Engineers.
Oh, okay.
And they have studies of different types of entities. And basically you go there and you look up, in this case you might use square footage of the buildings or the number of units or whatever, and you come up with the traffic counts, which again, I think we all feel are a little bit excessive for what really happens in this place. But, but I use those counts to compare with the counts that the Agency of Transportation took on Black Mountain Road and Putney Road.
Okay, and I know you already told us this, but could you humor me and tell us what the number of trips on the Black Mountain Road portion was again?
Thank you.
Okay, hold on a second here. Vehicles per day at Black Mountain Road appear to be 2,042. And the peak hourly volume there is 209. Now those numbers are taken those are actually calculated numbers by myself based upon procedures that you use. So what I did is I took the counts at Black Mountain Road and you compare them to the counts that are taken at X11. And you have to adjust them for the day, and versus the peak 30th hour day, which is the standard design hour that you use. So those numbers are actually adjusted numbers that you would use in a traffic study.
Did you say X11?
X11 is the traffic counter.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I lost you there or not, but essentially, that's the number that you would use if you were going to figure out what the number was on the road.
No, there's a formula, because
Right.
I used to have to do this
To calculate.
previous job.
So, but the factors that you're putting into the formula are important. So one of the pieces of information is what you get from the Institute of Traffic.
No, that you get it from Agency of Transportation. And
I don't mean the traffic.
the adjustment numbers are from the agency also. And that's based upon the studies of that counter plus other counters that are what they call urban in this case. And so they adjust those numbers based upon the day, the season, the month, all those type of things.
I just want to swing back to the type of business that we're talking about. So remind me how many units we're talking about.
294 units.
So 294 units. So when you have to go to that industry manual or whatever to come up with how many trips does this type of business generate? It's
That's
not a
correct.
fast food business, it's a storage business. But do you then input the actual number of units? Because that obviously makes a difference. I just want to make sure we're reviewing what
Okay.
the actual project is.
In this case, what we used was the square footage of the buildings,
Not how many units.
not how many units. Which, if you think about it, translates similar because units could be bigger or smaller, but there's a volume associated with it.
Well, personally, I would think the volume would be related to how many units there are, not the
That
size of
could
the
be
unit.
another way to do it too.
because-
Except for I'm not sure that ITE has it that way, but it might.
I mean, somebody's got one unit and it's huge, that's one person or one owner versus if you've got 200 and whatever you said, 60 something. That's how many people are gonna be visiting at some point, except for those occasions that Mr. Robertson said he hasn't seen them for 20 years, so.
Before you ask your next question, let me just clarify something. She was just asking you if your calculation number was based on units. Was it characterized for a storage unit facility? Do I
Yes.
understand that correctly?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, There is, in ITE, it's actually 3 volumes, and you look at what the type of unit, what the type of facility it is, it describes it, and so forth. In this case, it's pretty obvious. Sometimes it's hard to find something that matches, but this, of course, they've got.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So one of the other questions I had, I know when you have to go before Act 250, frequently, when you're talking about a larger parcel of land and you're doing the subdivision, they want to know what are the plans for the rest of the lots, because it's hard to look at something just in a vacuum. Sometimes people don't have any other plans, but other times it's part of a larger master plan, if you will, which obviously then affects traffic and utilization and lighting and noise and whatnot. And I'm wondering if this is part of, and I don't know the Brattleboro ordinance well enough, I'm sorry to say, about whether you have the same kind of master plan overview, but I did want to know if there were current plans regarding the abutting lots. You're obviously subdividing them for a reason.
Well, the only reason to subdivide at this point, Robin, is to take one of the front lots and use a portion of it in the back, okay?
So it's for the purpose of this
It's for the
parcel?
purpose of this project. Yeah.
And then the last question that I had was, I know there's interdepartment review when an application is presented, and I'm just wondering if the police, we've had so much bad news in Brattleboro about what's transpiring off of our exits and whatnot, and I'm just wondering if we've had any review from the police regarding any concerns
I don't think we did.
Just the fire department.
No
off the
comments.
access. So nothing from the police department?
It's very rare for the police to weigh in on these applications. I can't remember that happening.
Well, it's
Except
every application's unique in
Yeah,
terms
no, I'm-
of the use.
I'm only saying it's not unusual that they didn't weigh in on this one.
Okay, that's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I swear you in?
Yes, you have.
Okay.
I'm Frank Forrester, I reside on Kipling Road. I just have some, I wondered the studies you've done on traffic for Black Mtn Road. There are additional concerns. There's a housing project going on just over the interstate. There's a new branch coming in for the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, which will add additional traffic to the road. And I don't know if you've taken any of these factors into account.
No.
So-
I think the thing here is that the nature of this project is such that the traffic is just so small that it didn't seem to warrant a concern, really. I mean, the volume is just not there. I mean, practically speaking.
Well,
You know,
it may be small to you, but as a resident of Kipling Road, when I come down off Kipling to Black Mountain and then try to get to Putney Road, oftentimes I have to sit for 2 or 3 lights to get through the traffic light. And, the road is narrow there. If it's widened, that would make a difference. But right now, if you have people turning left and you have traffic backed up at the traffic circle, oftentimes one car gets through. So, I think traffic is a significant factor there.
Brett, what's the status of the plan to replace all those lights with rotaries? Is that happening?
I understand they're negotiating rights away at this point.
Okay. It's not relevant to this application anyway, I was just curious.
I think that could be a factor which could amend the application.
I'm aware that there's a Department of Transportation proposal, which no one here has any jurisdiction to even remotely have input on, to change the whole thing into a rotary at some point along with every light on Putney Road. I only offer that to you for your information. It may not happen, and I'm sure the funding is tied up so that it won't happen for a long time.
And it probably won't work very well unless they widen Black Mtn Road at that point. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak to this application? Does the board have follow-up based on the comments of the public?
I have a comment. I think I share all these people's concerns about that light. I really do. saying that, I've sat at that light many times myself. My mom lived on Crescent Drive in Black Mountain, mobile home park there, and I've spent 25 years going to there. But saying that, sitting here listening to that, from my perspective, it hardly seems like the dysfunction in the traffic light and its timing, should be their problem. It seems like it's a problem for sure, but I don't see that it is. I don't see that their 30 cars or 99 or whatever is going to be the straw that breaks that camel's back or not. Whether they come or not, you're still going to be sitting there waiting for that light. And I think that's a bigger conversation for someone other than them. I don't know if it's the traffic safety committee or the highway department or whoever it is, but it's something someone needs to look at, because they're completely right. God forbid the person who's the lead car should be asleep at the wheel or doing anything other than staring at that light, ready for it to go with their foot on the gas, because like they said, if 2 cars or 3 cars makes it through that, it's a miracle. And that's ridiculous. I mean, you people coming out of the storage are going to be going like, wow, what's up with that? So that needs to be addressed, but I don't think on your watch. I mean, my opinion is I don't think that, I don't think your 295 units is going to make or break that issue. I think that issue was broken long before you came here. So, my 2 cents.
I had one more question. The landscaping that you're going to use, is that going to completely screen those buildings from the Black Mountain and Putney Road side?
No.
To what extent is the screening going to cover the
I have to
buildings?
show you various,
I know you, Mr. Whitaker, but if you could just identify yourself for the people at home.
What we're doing here, the Cobb residence is right here. And here we're placing, for the most part, evergreens. But once we get down into here, some of these are going to be lower elevations. For snow removal purposes, there was a question about where you put your snow. Snow does not, evergreens does not provide a good area to push snow into. So we have quite a bit of deciduous material along here. We have it up at the level of here, and we have it also at lower elevations. At lower elevations, will start spreading out and will provide some level of screening during the spring, summer, and fall. But in the winter, it will, because of the use of the deciduous material in here, it will not be fully screened during the winter from Putney Road.
Is there a reason there couldn't be some screening with evergreens beyond the deciduous between Putney Road and the line of deciduous?
No, that can be done. If it's so desired, we can substitute some
think that's-
deciduous in there for.
It's desired to be. I mean, winter's bad enough. It'd be nice to keep that screening in place.
How much will be able to be seen from Putney Road? The roof line or the entire building?
Keep in mind the elevation differences, and you're looking up in here.
So
You would look up-
this front is lower elevation than the.
That's right, so
than
you'd
the
be
back.
looking up like this, so just the fact you look uphill will somewhat screen a portion of the building. That's one reason, as we planted to lower down here, we felt that the deciduous spread and crown would provide an effective screen, for 7 or so months of the year. It does not address the winter condition though.
If you did go around to outline those deciduous with evergreens, would that provide total screening from a Putney Road side? Or near total, if you will?
What do you mean by total screen? Do you mean, and I asked this question in reference to another project.
That's why I changed it to near total. I mean, you can barely see the thing.
So you want to almost hide it.
Well, my assumption is that that's the state of screening at the Cobb residence and slightly to the north of the Cobb residence.
Yes, that's the intent along here.
My question would it be essentially similarly screened if you went if you outlined around the deciduous trees on the east side of the deciduous trees with evergreens.
If you prefer screening over a variety of, we're somewhat limited in terms of what we have here, in terms of the evergreens we can plant. Visually, it will look like a screen. I mean, here we're trying to plant a variety of plant material that would be pleasant to look at as well. So if the primary function, your primary desire is to screen the buildings completely, yes, we can do it. But I personally would question whether or not that would be the most attractive solution in this.
Well, what about a compromise where there's some additional screening by evergreen, so you have at least some breakup visually in the winter?
That can be easily done.
I mean, I don't think we want a wall of shrubbery.
Yeah, if you want to give us that direction, we can go back to and substitute. Substitute a number of evergreens for what we.
But I'm just sort of speaking from my own opinion. I don't know if the
No,
board
I
agrees with me.
agree with that. That was one of my concerns about this whole project was.
And it will help lighting as well, so, I mean, I think there is, I don't disagree, there's reasons, there's a benefit to doing this, so.
Okay. Was there someone, I heard murmuring in the public. Okay. I thought I heard someone call your name, Monroe. Apart from that spot, the east deciduous section, is it fairly densely screened from the north and the cemetery side?
We're using existing vegetation there.
Right, and the cemetery side is by virtue of the hill there and the forest line, right?
Right.
Okay. And on the north, the short wall of the property, if you will?
This northern,
Yeah.
once again, that is not as visible from the public realm, from the streets.
Okay.
And because Cheshire Oil owns that land, all this land over here, we didn't feel it was as essential to.
Will there be visual impact from the swale and the swale on the east side of Mr. Cobb's property that will serve to direct the discharge from the new culvert?
Okay, we're talking this well down here.
Yeah.
Okay, now, the question again?
Are you going to be able to see it?
Oh, yes.
Are you doing anything to landscape that, or is it just going to be a hill of greenery? Well, how tall is the swale? Are you talking about 2 feet or?
Let me look at the contour
2 or 3
here.
feet?
Yeah, we're looking at a swell, it's going to be,
All right.
it's going to be basically about this deep, and width from here to the edge of the table.
Okay.
It's basically green.
Right.
It's a ditch, you
I
know.
mean, it's, yeah.
I
It's flat, it'll
have
be
no
grass.
further questions about this
Okay.
one. Okay. Any further public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cobb. Come on back up.
I still have a concern with the water runoff. If you took the square footage of blacktop that would be there and the roofs on that, didn't somebody say it's going to be like 5 acres?
Well, I don't know, I can't, I don't know if I can explain it further.
Well, my expectation is that if we make a motion to approve this permit, one of our conditions would be that it not increase the stormwater runoff explicitly on your property, Mr. Cobb. I mean, we generally have a condition that says no net increase in stormwater runoff, period. And the applicant has to do that again at the state level, where people with more expertise than us will review their proposal to direct that stormwater. But if they indeed had stormwater on your property, they would be violating the condition of their permit, and that would be grounds for a violation by the zoning administrator. So I mean, that's what I have in mind to allay your fear somewhat.
Right, well, the concern is that on the property, that will be eventually developed in front. And what they're doing, it looks like, is diverting the water onto that, even more water. If you took how much water in a pouring storm on 4 or 5 acres, and then it's poured into those places there, there's no drainage to get it out of there. Whereas if there was manholes that went into a storm system, it would take it directly to Connecticut River. That, I think that's where the stormwater all goes to begin with.
Right.
And that would get it off the property. But what's happening right there is gonna be 4 or 5 acres of roof and blacktop that's now gonna come down into what was, you know, it always fills up with water in the winter or any time that we have storms. And you're gonna add that whole top part down into the front. It's all gonna divert down front. And if you people walked up there on the land, you would see what I'm talking about as far as the grade. Because the grade to my driveway comes up Black Mtn Rd and it's graded downhill. It comes down. That's why the water from Black Mtn Rd goes down my driveway.
If there's no net stormwater increase, that means that Mr. Cobb would be incorrect once you're outside of the functional stormwater catch basins, etc. Correct?
Not sure I got the whole question here, but there would be no increase in runoff onto his property from the project, for sure, or any other property.
Any place
Or Black Mountain or Putney Road. And not only, we can't do it anyways because of the ordinance here, but also Agency of Transportation, I mean, the Agency of Natural Resources isn't going to let us do that either. And we're going to have to do, for their permit, infiltration, even if we could take it by a pipe, which we really can't in this case, we'd have to do some infiltration anyways, because that's the law, basically.
You putting the culvert into his driveway, correct me if I'm wrong, is really you guys doing the ditch work along Black Mtn Rd that currently does not exist, because there's not even ditch swales or anything there. If the road crowns, there's earthen berms at the edge of the road. There's nothing by way of remotely resembling the drawing that a developer would have to be if he was building the road from scratch. And so you're putting in that culvert to just pass as a courtesy, the culvert to his, or is that a functional part of your?
Well, it ends up being a courtesy to him, but it's also part of the design.
So it's the overflow for the retention, detention.
That we need to do to take care of what we're doing there too.
Gotcha, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Mr. Kaler, you have one more comment?
I do, and I'm sure at some point someone's thought about it. I just wondered if the developers had considered using pervious asphalt or those stones that grass can go through and water can pass through instead of running off. I know they exist, I'm not sure what the name for them is.
Do you want to address that?
Sure, it's pervious pavement, and we've used it on projects, but essentially what we're proposing here is doing the same thing. I mean, what we're doing is we're infiltrating the water into the ground, which is what pervious pavement does too.
Are these are just ponds though, right? There's no subsurface system, right?
The only thing that will be
infiltrators or any of that stuff, right?
There will be some infiltration because what could happen when the ground freezes in spring and you get rain, you can get a situation where the ground becomes impervious. So you got to take care of that anyway. So you're going to do something in the bottom, okay, of those ponds. So there will be some structures.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's probably appropriate, if we're all in agreement at this point, to propose a motion to accept the permit. That would have to be conditioned on the applicant getting a waiver to have only 3 parking spaces, for the applicant to submit any schedule of signage and marking if they later decide to use it to the zoning administrator. For the applicant to get any necessary state permits associated with the project, including Act 250. for the applicant to use the black iron fencing on the Black Mountain and Putney Road or east and south sides of the property. For the drainage, to have no increase in net runoff and particularly no impact on the abutting residential Cobb property. For the applicant to submit a photometric plan to the zoning administrator, including spillover. For there to be lights that are motion activated after 9 p.m. For there to be building materials consistent with what the applicants represented, which is the forest green and sandstone combinations in the stone base wainscoting on the primary building. For the building to be subject to Vermont commercial building energy standards, with a provision that we do not find the increase on traffic so burdensome as to justify denial of the application.
That would be reviewed.
Our finding would be that the traffic increase is not so burdensome as to support our denying the application, or that the project will have a minimal impact on the traffic. Yeah, that the applicant provide, throughout the lots have some type of permanent easement or covenant, providing that those associated lots both keep and maintain the landscaping as represented by the applicant here, to be approved by the zoning administrator, and that the applicant not adversely impact the water line or sewer line of the adjacent residential Cobb property. I don't think I'm missing anything.
The fire department wishes 24-hour access to the gate, past the gate.
And that the fire
a
department
knock
have 24-hour access to the gate.
And a knock box on the building.
And a Knox box on the building. Yes, please.
Clarification on the motion detector, was that just on the area affecting the Cobb residents, or is that the whole project?
Is there any reason it couldn't be the whole project? I mean, you save quite a lot of money.
I guess until I get it built, I haven't got a good feeling what that's gonna do.
Do you think there might be a reason that you would need the lights on all night?
No, I don't want, no,
Well, then let's keep it motion activated after 9 for now.
or after hours.
After hours,
Okay.
and in any event, I'd say after midnight. Is that
Well, which is it?
after his hours, as long as
Or after midnight?
after the hours, or if the hours extend past midnight, at midnight? It could be motion
I
activated.
forget about that.
9's fine with us, if that's what you want to do.
Okay,
9 o'clock.
we'll call it 9 o'clock. You can always come back for an amendment too. If I'm not forgetting anything, it's appropriate for us.
So moved.
So moved, okay.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the board? All those in favor of approving application 2015-136 with those conditions? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application is application 2015-137, Elizabeth Bennett for Groundworks Collaborative. Traffic safety. Also, they put this light bulb.
There's somebody we kind of want to develop that property.
So whenever you're ready, folks, you can tell us about your project.
Good evening, my name is John Sicoscio. I'm an architect at Stevens & Associates. I'm here with Josh Davis and Libby Bennett of Groundworks Collaborative. We're here before the board to request a change of use to 39 Frost Street, which is currently Glenwood Collision. We're proposing moving the emergency shelter, which is currently at the Baptist Church on Main Street, to this location. We are proposing no changes to the exterior or the site of the property, except for a privacy fence along the western edge, I believe, of the property. All lighting shall remain the same. Vehicular access shall remain the same. Signage shall remain or be removed. And I think that the users of the space, those seeking the shelter, will be mostly on foot. There'll be 2 staff people that may have vehicles.
Neither of whom would live there.
Nobody would be living there.
Okay.
I think that's most of the points.
Is there going to be some defined on-site pedestrian circulation?
No. We will maintain the main entrance as it is today and use the sconces that are, the existing sconces on that wall on either side of the front door to light the path to the building.
Can you remind me what the path looks like?
It's currently simply a paved driveway.
In the paved driveway,
Along the right side of the property, looking at the site plan.
okay. How much vehicle traffic do you think there will be?
Very limited.
Okay.
Most of the users of the drop-in are on foot.
And you base that on your experience at the Baptist Church?
Yes.
Okay.
We have volunteers that bring meals that have vehicles.
Okay, about how often does that happen during a day?
During the day, it's in the evening, so
Or-
between 5 and 7 o'clock.
What I mean is
2 or
within one
3
day.
2 or 3 cars.
Okay. Where is the emergency access to the structure? It has to be from Frost Street?
Yes, the emergency access, there's a driveway between the small, approximately 800 square foot house towards Frost Street and between the lawn. There's 2 text items that say lawn, and it's right between those 2.
Okay. So there's no way that we could get an emergency vehicle in here without going through the flood hazard area?
That's correct.
Okay. Any provision for bike storage?
I do not believe so.
Would it be too much trouble to put a bike rack there?
No.
Would that be helpful to the clients?
I believe so.
There's going to be no change to the physical parking lot, the pavement, right?
That's correct.
Is there, do people that use the shelter bring their pets around?
Did you say pets?
Pets, dogs?
That's,
No, so no dogs would be allowed?
no.
Okay. And you said there'll be 2 employees?
We have employees that open and close the shelter, and then we rely on volunteers to help maintain overnight.
Okay. Roughly how many people are there at any given time?
20 to 25.
What I mean is employees, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Or volunteers, people who might drive there is what I'm getting at.
1 to 4.
Okay. And does that vary? Like, are there 4 people there during the daylight hours and 1 person there overnight? Or?
Typically, first shift has 2 people there,
Okay.
and that goes until around midnight or after, and then another 1 person.
And to clarify, this building will only be used from 5 p.m. through 7 a.m.?
7 or 8 a.m.
So during the daylight hours, the building won't be open. and the staff people will be elsewhere.
Okay.
So it's solely gonna replace what the church did?
Exactly.
Will it only, but it'll be year round, right?
Eventually, we're working on another plan for the space. This is because the First Baptist Church, we're not able to have the overflow shelter there this year.
Oh, really?
We're operating under that assumption. We don't really know, it's kind of up in the air.
Right.
And so we need a contingency plan, and so this has become our primary plan.
So Plan B became Plan A.
Exactly.
Okay.
Story of my life. There's no building that's going to occur in the special flood hazard area?
No construction whatsoever. We'll just be reusing the existing facility.
Or fill?
No site work of any kind.
Are these parking spaces, Mark, They're
Directly in front of the building? Yes, they are.
next to the lawn and?
Yep.
Is the plan for Groundworks to eventually be the property owner?
That's the hope.
So are there any issues with the property and having people sleep there with toxic waste issues from, I mean, it was a auto repair facility and I don't know what's on the ground around it.
I know Mr. Putnam can speak. I don't know, I remember you being before us for another hearing and testifying about the methods you use to control
They have
pollution.
hazardous waste day.
If you could just come up to the microphone so the people on television can hear you. And you weren't sworn in, were you?
No, I thought I was just gonna be an observer.
Do you mind if I draft you as a speaker and swear you in? Raise your right hand. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? Go ahead.
Yeah, we have hazardous waste day every November, and any hazardous waste that was ever generated went to Women Solid Waste, and they have records of it there.
Am I correct that you used EPA-approved venting to get all the body shop fumes and that sort of thing out when you were painting there?
Yeah, everything was done in a approved spray booth.
Okay. And that's all gone now, or will be gone?
Everything's gone. There's no evidence left.
It's essentially just a building.
It's just basically an empty building, yeah.
Thank you.
You can't tell that it was an automotive.
I don't have anything else. No? No. I assume you have no more. You're the only remaining member of the public.
Yeah, I'm that.
Okay. My suggestion would be that we approve this application with the condition that there be no construction in the special flood hazard area, that the bike rack be constructed.
Jim, did you sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Did you look over the fire department's
No,
requirements?
I always miss that.
They are asking for, I'm not sure if there is now, but they're asking for a fire alarm and sprinkler system, full sprinkler system.
I'm currently working with the fire department and the Division of Fire Safety to make sure that the inside of that space is safe for the occupants.
Okay. And pumper connection location be approved by the fire department, and a master box tied to the municipal system and a Knox box.
So why don't we have
All that
as a,
stuff is sprinkler related though,
Yeah.
except the Knox box, right?
well, why don't we have as a condition that the Knox box be installed and that the application be approved, whatever they do by the Division of Fire Safety.
Okay.
I'm sure we'd all be satisfied. So we have that. I think that's all that's necessary. Did I miss anything? So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
I'm asleep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 4-0. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thanks.
Thank you.